A very intriguing race with everybody running on different strategies here. Max Rice looking fairly impatient, having caught up with Felix Hersiger, having taken that short stop, will want to get past him as quickly as possible if he can. Baudouin de Two in fourth place behind them as well. At the moment, Rogowski has an 11.8 second lead over Felix Hersiger. So long distance out in front, will want to extend that as much as possible with that longer stop still to come. Looking back briefly from the perspective of Felix Hersiger, looking back at Max Rice, that's your 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Baudouin de Two in fourth, Tim Zimmerman in fifth place. So Zimmerman will be the leading long stopper. Tim Zimmerman, the leading car who has taken the long stop. So they'll have the 20-second shorter pit stop next time around.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Rice just dropping back a little bit through the start of this lap, but it is only a little bit to that Lamborghini, the championship leaders, who, as you say, haven't finished out of the top 4 so far this season. There's a battle going on. Joseph Ellery with a pair of Porsches for company as they go over the line. Brakes, look how slow it is into that first corner. Oh, and he loses that back end, goes on the grass, gets a wobble on, and loses 1, 2 places. Both Porsches come through. First Castellitz, then Bonninghausen, so they go up to 7th and 8th. He drops from 7th down to 9th place. Yeah, I was about to say it's one of the slowest corners, turn 1, but you approach it at such high speed, at 255 kilometres an hour. You have to take that curb on the inside. It just dropped downhill a little bit there as well, and settles the car. The back end went light, and very easy to lose it there, as you can see. Just thumped over the curb. That unsettled the car, didn't it, the rear end? He did well to rescue it, Joseph Ellery, but just that little moment on the grass, lost the momentum, had to take his foot off the throttle, and the Porsches did not hesitate to come through.
Yeah, Joseph just finding his feet in GT3. We've seen him for a couple of years in ADAC GT for Germany, so stepping up to the big league for 2026. There's debris rising up into the air as the two Razzoon more than racing cars come round the corner. I think it's just a bit of paper, actually. But actually, if that gets into a radiator grille, can cause overheating problems. But Joseph Ellery, with a new co-driver, with Al Valente, having stepped across from the HRT Mustang last time out, now sharing the seat of that BMW. Jan Duran not available this weekend. And Joseph Ellery now coming under attack from the incoming Storm. Storm Yerdrum in 10th place, make that 9th as he moves his way past Joseph Ellery. Ellery, though, fighting back, isn't he? The young 16-year-old Storm Yerdrum gets the job done. It was BMW versus BMW. Advantage Yerdrum in this particular battle. There's another BMW behind, and that is yesterday's winner, Sandro Holzem, now monstering the back of the Joseph Ellery BMW.
Yeah, it's a good move from Mark Castellitz as well, just in front of them into the same corner, diving at the last moment down the inside of Tim Hooter's Lamborghini. Then this incident that you talked about, the two BMWs going side by side, but that was really good on the brakes, wasn't it, from Castellitz? Could have made the grass very easily there, but he made the corner instead. And Bonninghausen even was tempted into a look at the inside. Now, this is a replay of the pit stop for the FK Performance BMW. They were looking at the front right corner. Was there a worry about damage to the car? And was that mechanic back behind the line in time as well?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's been flagged on the messaging screen, so I don't think there was any rules broken. I think the mechanics are allowed to be around the car as long as there's only 2 of them at a time until it's time to pull away. But maybe there was a bit of damage to the number 10 car. Right, here comes the number 14, Mark Castellitz, in 6th place at the moment. Colin Berdinghausen there as well, also Tim Hooter. But remember, we've got long and short stoppers mixed in with each other. Rogowski leads the way from Felix Hersiger, Max Rice and Baudouin de Two, but all of them have taken their short stops. So all of them have got a 20-second longer pit stop than Tim Zimmerman, who is in 5th place. And he is 21 seconds back from the race leader, so very much in contention for when this race gets into its closing stages.
Yeah, because his next pit stop should be 20 seconds shorter than their pit stops, which would put him to within 2 seconds of that Audi, wouldn't it? So absolutely, they're in the mix once again, Tim Zimmerman and Leighton Fury, already race winners this year. They want the championship title. They were runners-up last year, so there's only one place to go from there. And also these young drivers, and it's a very young field this year in the GT Masters. Very much the age dynamic of the drivers has changed over the last few years. Part of the road to DTM, which is to take the ADAC run the championship, to take drivers up from karting to GT4 to GT3 racing with the GT Masters Championship, and then to progress ultimately to DTM. Finn Wiebelhaus, the prime example of that, won this championship last year, and he's gone into the DTM, and he's just finished, before this race happened, on the podium in the DTM at the age of just 19 years of age, getting his first podium, and the first ever podium for the HRT Ford Racing Mustang. And this year, as we get a replay of the FK Performance BMW Sandro Olsen picking up a lovely move on the Lamborghini of Tim Otter to gain a place as well. Tim's dropped back a few places now. That's Sandro up to 9th place at the moment, because they get points for qualifying and the race. Obviously, if you're with a teammate and they're in the road to DTM as well for the young drivers, they're going to score the same as you score, but they each do one qualifying session each, and that's where really the title is won. You get 10 points for qualifying on pole in your session, 9 for second, 8 for third, down to a point for 10th. And at the moment, Finn Zulav is the leader of the road to DTM. By my math, he's got 118 points, an 11-point lead over Leighton Fury, who's second on 107, and Sandro Olsen up to 3rd place now after the win yesterday on 94 points.
And the other thing about the road to DTM is you can earn points, you can also lose points. So you can have points deducted if you pick up a penalty, a grid drop, or black and white flags. Any issues, you will get points taken off your road to DTM. So those points, once they're on the board, are not cemented in place. So it's really good because it forces the drivers to think the bigger picture and to think discipline. And the winner of the road to DTM gets funding for potentially a DTM seat next season. This is the one they all want to win. They all want to be the GT Master champion. They join an incredible Roll of Honour that features some of the greatest names in GT3 racing, but they also want that funding to get into DTM. So drivers are competing with their co-drivers. How close to the wall are these cars getting? I stepped back then myself, and I'm nowhere near there.
Yeah, Tom Callender won the GT Masters the year before. He's also gone on to race, of course, in DTM, and he's starting to get some really strong results now as well. He had a 5th at the end of last year at Hockenheim. He's had a 4th this year already at the Red Bull Ring. Here's a replay. Lamborghini versus BMW. Is he going to get through? Yes, is the answer. Is he going to stay ahead? Because I did see one Lambo going onto the grass. No, he did. He did pull it off, John Paul Southern. He, at times yesterday, pretty racy, wasn't he? We had a downpour before the start of the race yesterday, and we didn't get to see who was on what tyres, but apparently John Paul Southern was, I think, on a wet tyre. But he was driving some real confident moves at the start of that race yesterday. And also, when he came back out of the pits yesterday, the American, for the 3rd and final stint of the race, he pulled off some, I mean, he's a lap down, but he was battling with the leaders for a couple of laps, really, wasn't he? So I think he's starting to find his feet now in this championship. Yeah,
he's a really useful peddler, is John Paul Southern. He comes a long way from the USA. We've seen him on and off over the years in ADAC GT4 Germany, and now stepping up to the League of Super Sports Cars and certainly finding his feet there. Robin Rogowski, he's another newcomer to GT Masters. He's never actually finished on the podium. 4th place is the best he has ever earned in GT Masters. Of course, his co-driver, Simon Conner-Prim, a one-time winner. But if Rogowski can keep things as they are now when he hands it over to Simon Conner-Prim in with a really good shout of not only earning his first ever podium, but possibly even his first ever win. But we've got a long way to go yet still. Another 44.5 minutes, plus 1 lap, plus another pit stop and driver change.
Bud wanted two rather. He's doing a good job in 4th place. He's not as quick as those ahead. He's losing a bit of time to Tim Zimmerman behind, but Tim's way more experienced in GT3 cars than Bud wanted to, the French driver, who's come from GT4 racing in his first season of these more powerful GT3 cars, but greater aero, greater horsepower in the cars. And he had a bit of a tough time of it right at the end of the race yesterday. He lost a few places, a couple of moments, but overall I think it was his most competitive performance yet in only his 3rd weekend of the championship, and he's doing a solid job here. He's running in 4th place. Jamie Day will get back into the car for the final stint, and we know he's a quick driver. The Brit has already qualified on the front row of the grid in that Aston Martin at the Red Bull Ring. So yeah, it's good to see some of these newcomers to GT3 making good steps forward. At the moment, Rogalski 6.6 seconds clear of Herzinger. Rice still right with him though, 0.4 of a second behind in the #1 Mustang. Let's do 2 in 4th in the Aston. Zimmerman, though, in 5th place,
yes,
is only 15.6 seconds behind the race leader. And
yes.
his pit stop, by all accounts, should be 20 seconds shorter next time around because he's got the long pit stop done.
So, if they were to pit here and now and everything was perfect, Zimmerman would come out in the lead. I've been watching that gap come down for the last couple of laps. So 15.6 is the gap between first and our leading long stopper, Tim Zimmerman. Mark Kastelitz in 6th place is also a long stopper, still very much in the hunt, as well as Colin Berninghausen in 7th, another of the long stoppers. So this is all going to come alive when the next pit window opens. At the moment, Robin Rogowski needs to make as much hay as while the sun shines as possible, but on that last lap, Tim Zimmerman took another second out of the lead pack. So Zimmerman is on a charge.
Yeah, so if all the pit stops go according to plan, Zimmerman is going to end up leading this race. As it stands, the Audi, which will be Simon Connor Prim, that will come out behind it, but just in front of, by probably about 5 or 6 seconds at the moment, in front of the number 14 Razzoon Porsche, currently driven by Mark Kastelitz, which has also got a short pit stop to come. And then not far behind with the other Porsche as well. Those two Porsches have been pretty evenly matched, haven't they? So it is looking good here for Tim Zimmerman and Leighton Fury. And Zimmerman, yeah, driving very well. We saw yesterday, didn't we, with this long middle stint, it is about consistency, managing the tyres, not making any mistakes. Emil Yerdrum did a great job of that yesterday in the Mustang. That's why he and Max Rice ended up getting a podium, and Max drove very well at the end as well and did a good overtake. But the hard yards here really are being done by Tim Zimmerman, aren't they? He's got the car with its kind of least favourable in terms of the tyres and the tyre wear. And if he can close that gap, he's going to give Leighton Fury a real chance of getting their second victory of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this is the endurance part of the race, really. You've got what is a very short sprint in towards the first stop and a fairly short sprint after the second stop. But 16 minutes still to go before we head towards the next pit window. So the driver that's in the seat now could potentially be in the seat for another 26 minutes because that window is 10 minutes long. So you can see a code there for those who are following. The 2 blue markers mean that the long stop's completed. The 1 yellow marker means that the short stop is completed. I'm pleased their notes tie in with ours. So you can see there that Tim Zimmerman is the leading long stopper. Mark Kastelitz, Colin Berninghausen, Storm Yerdrum, Sandra Holzem, John Paul Southern all have world class, almost a joker in their back pocket. Rogowski, Hersiger, Max Rice, Baudouin Detu, also Tim Hooter, Joseph Ellering, Kiana Bloom are all going to have to make up ground when they come in for their long stop. Keanu Bloom in 13th place, looking fairly subdued in the grand scale of things there, and I'm wondering whether the Ford Mustang took more of a beating than perhaps we realised when it hit the wall yesterday. Bloom working hard to try and catch up with Joseph Ellering, but down in 13th place, not really on the pace at the moment. He's 1.2 seconds back from 12th place Joseph Ellering.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some issue, isn't there, with that car, because Keanu has been flying this year, hasn't he? He's got the car, I mean, almost won the first race of the championship at the Red Bull Ring, bar for one corner, and Keanu has generally been really impressive to watch and really quick and pulling off good overtakes as well, but he's struggling in that car at the moment in last place. This is the maroon HRT Mustang number 2, which currently runs in 13th place. The quickest driver on the track last time around was Mark Kastelitz in the number 14 Razzoon Porsche, currently running in 6th place. He's now, bearing in mind there were no's to tell when they came out of the pits, he's now 2.5 seconds clear of Colin Berninghausen, but he's a long way back on the Tim Zimmerman car, which is 12 seconds up the road. So Rogalski leading in the Audi, 4.5 seconds clear of Hersinger in the Lamborghini, number 63, number 1 Rice in 3rd in the Mustang, the Aston of Detu, number 39 in 4th, but being caught by Zimmerman, he's the first of those that have got the long stop done, so he's in the box seat really. He's now only 12.2 seconds off the race lead.
Right now, Keanu Bloom has caught Joseph Ellering, so sweeping around the outside in the Mustang. So Bloom clearly with the bit between his teeth, moves up into 12th place. Next up the road will be Tim Hooter in the number 19 Liquimoli Team Engstler Lamborghini Huracan. There he is, just disappearing out the bottom of your picture, so you can see what the gap is. About 2.665 if you want numbers against that. So still in the points, but as you say, not really what he had in mind when he arrived here today. This is the view on board of that Mustang as it growls past. I said to Emil Yerdrum this morning, I said, does it sound as good on the inside as it does from the outside? He's like, yeah, better. The whole car vibrates, and these Mustangs around the tri-oval here at the Lausitz Ring, very NASCAR reminiscent. There's a Marshall tipping his hat to some great racing here in the ADAC GT Masters. Race 6 of a 12-race season, the second of 4 endurance races here. The endurance format in its 3rd year and proving to be very popular. Great training ground for these young drivers as well. Robin Rogowski, we saw him last year in the Prototype Cup Germany, so this is a very different discipline for him. He's leading Felix Hersiger by 4.5 seconds. At least he was last time around. We're going to see what that gap is now, 3.9. So Hersiger's taken 0.6 of a second out of that lead. But look at Max Rice there, looking very hungry in 3rd place. Will be mindful he's got a long stop yet to come when he hands the car back to Emil Yerdrum.
Yeah, he's doing a good job though, isn't he? Absolutely hanging on here to Felix Hersiger in his 3rd season of the championship. In terms of GT Masters is Max Rice, and this is the 1st season he's actually got to drive the same car in the same championship for more than 1 year, although he's got a new teammate, but they've already proven a successful pairing. Right, this is the Tim Hooter Lamborghini, looking like he's got a problem and looking pit bound, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's
been going backwards a little bit, hadn't it? And yeah, his last lap was a 1:24.9. Yeah, so it lost a couple of seconds somewhere. So I'm afraid looks like an issue developing. Liquimoli Team Engstler currently 2nd in the championship in terms of the team's championship behind FK Performance. Keeping an eye as well on the 2nd best place long pit stop, i.e. the 2nd place car that's already got the long pit stop out of the way, and that's the Porsche of Mark Kastelitz, who is now only 23.1 seconds behind the race leader Rogalski. So he's, you know, that team's going to be within 2 or 3 seconds of that Audi once this next round of pit stops happen. Maybe even get ahead of it, because the rate at which he's catching, pretty impressive. Rogalski's last lap time was a 1:23.1. Kastelitz, he's in the low 1:22s at the moment, so he's about a second a lap quicker. I think he's going to get within 20 seconds as well. And Zimmerman has got ahead of the Aston as well, as you'll see from the replay here. And they're on a different strategy and just driving through. Zimmerman, very experienced, up to 4th place overall now, and just 10.2 seconds off the race lead.
So things remain as they are now. Tim Zimmerman and Leighton Furry very much in the box seats for a race win, but still plenty of racing to come. We've still got 35 minutes plus 1 lap of racing remaining. We see Felix Hersiger in that 2nd place, yet to take the long stop. Max Rice in 3rd place. I would just point out, if you want to catch up with details about Max Rice and what he's up to, download the app. MR28, I believe it's called, Max Rice 28, that was his old racing number. It's an app that you can download for free, gives you all the information, background information about Max, a really good insight into the life of a racing driver. Well worth the time and effort to do that. I believe that Max has developed that himself, so not just a talented racing driver at the moment. Would want to get past Felix Hersiger. Not only is Hersiger a main championship rival, but if he can get some air in front of him, would potentially open up a bit more of a gap for the preparation for the long stop. The sad sight there of the number 19 Liquimoli by Team Engstler car being pushed back into the garage, the one that was driven by Tim Hooter and Ethan Brown. The sister car, the championship leader, Felix Hersiger, still with a Mustang glued to his back bumper.
Yeah, and this circuit, because you've got a bit of everything, you've got 3 corners that are less than 90 kilometres an hour, including the first corner. You've got obviously the high-speed stuff when you're coming out onto the tri-oval, like turns 12 and turn 5. Big long start-finish straight where you get to 255 kilometres an hour. So it's a circuit that suits cars that are good in terms of top-end speed. it also, on other parts of the circuit, is better for cars that are good in slower turns and have better traction coming out of corners and are perhaps more nimble through the turns. So overall, and with the way they've very cleverly worked out the balance of performance to equalise all these different types of cars, which some have turbo power, some are normally aspirated, they're all different weights, they'll have different size engines, different amount of horsepower, different aerodynamic features, and they change the weights of the cars with adding on balanced performance weight, or they change things like the ride heights of the car, or they can tweak the boost, or they can change the amount of airflow that comes into the normally aspirated cars. And what you get, Brian, is these totally different types of GT3 cars, all extremely evenly matched. As I said, qualifying this morning, it was so tight. Yeah, most of the field within 9/10 of a second of each other.
It's phenomenal, the BOP is, and you look across at DTM, which is identical cars, and you've got 8 different manufacturers, and we had the entire field covered by 9/10 of a second on Friday. So the BOP really works, and it allows us to see all these different manufacturers, a different budget of car as well, because I'd say that the Lamborghini Huracan, the Ford Mustang, kind of appealing to a different market out on the road, but they're able to race each other wheel to wheel. The mighty BMW there as well, and the BOP is a brilliant initiative, always controversial. I've never heard a driver say, do you know what, the BOP worked in our favour today. They all say, oh, the BOP's against us, but hey, you've got to find some reason to explain performance, haven't you? But they do a great job. It's very carefully reviewed, and if you think the BOP is worked out on the back of a fag packet, you're very much mistaken. I've looked at the formulae they use to work out the BOP, and I certainly don't understand it. It's a mega complicated process, but it works.
It's kind of a thankless task, isn't it? Because you can never please everybody all the time. It's impossible. But what you have to say, I mean, you look at the race yesterday, some fantastic racing. We've got at the moment an Audi leading, a Lamborghini second, a Ford in third, a BMW fourth, an Aston Martin fifth, and a Porsche in sixth. So 6 different brands in the top 6 places. It works. It's not always to everyone's favour. You're always going to get grumblings, but overall, they do a good job. The most wins for a brand in this championship: Audi 52 wins, Porsche 47. Mercedes 43, 41 for Lamborghini. The old Huracan has been a trusty steed, hasn't it? And it's still going well because it's been replaced, or starting to be replaced in GT3 racing, and certainly in the DTM with the new Tamararo. But that Huracan is still a very, very competitive car, and the older Audi R8. And it's the first time for a long time, if not ever, that we haven't had a Mercedes in the field, isn't it, this year?
Yes, we were commenting on that. I don't think we've ever had a year without Mercedes in Adac GT Masters. That is quite unusual. For those who thought we'd see the last of the Audi, well, Robin Rogowski and Simon Conner-Prim have got something to say about that, haven't they? Because there is certainly life in the old dog yet. It's been interesting to look at the new Nuvolari Audi that has been released and talk about that becoming a GT3, but that's something for the future. That would be spectacular, wouldn't it? At the moment, we're looking at the old R8. It leads the way. Felix Hersiger, 2.708. Now, Tim Zimmerman in 4th place is just 7.841 seconds away from Robin Rogowski. And to remind you, Rogowski, Hersiger, Rice are all got to take a 20-second longer pit stop when we come in for the next pit stop when the window opens. So Zimmerman at the moment is looking set in 5 minutes and 10 seconds to potentially be a long way in front, but it does involve them making sure that there are no mistakes in the pit stops, nobody goes below minimum times, because that can really ruin your afternoon. Baudouin Detu in there as well, one of the short stoppers, but you can see Mark Castellitz, Colin Berdinghausen, Storm Yerdrum, Sandra Holdham, John Paul Southern, all with shorter pit stops when they come in. They're going to have to do that within the next 14 minutes, and well, 14 and a half minutes coming up to, because it's a 10-minute window that opens in 4.5 minutes. As we look at the number 2 car, Keanu Bloom, in 11th place at the moment. Whatever problems he's got, he's handling it. Up ahead of him will be John Paul Southern, but Keanu Bloom didn't get the extra time in the car yesterday because of that impact with the wall about there in the hands of Nicholas Callas. believed to be because of an issue with that traction control, but the team have clearly worked hard on the car, but you do wonder if all is not well in the number 2 HRT Mustang. One of the things we did discover talking to the HRT garage this morning is that there are not a lot of these Mustangs available for racing around the world. I think Emil Yerdrum had said about 20 available worldwide, which I wasn't aware of.
No, I think there's 25 originally, but 5 have had crashes and dropped out. So yeah, it's only 20 running. It's a shame because it's a glorious looking car, and as you said, sounding car as well. The Mustang, it has got a big old fan base with the crowds as well. You see a lot of people here at the racetracks with Ford merchandise going around in the grandstands and around the back of the paddock here as well. Now Tim Zimmermann and Leighton Fury get a win here today, and it's looking increasingly likely that'll be 4 consecutive podium finishes. They didn't get on the podium at Red Bull Ring. They struggled with the BMW round there with a 10th and a 4th, but they got a win in race 1 at Zandvoort, second in race 2 at Zandvoort, second yesterday here at Lausitz Ring. If they get a win here, that's 4 on the bounce. There's a chance they get the championship lead, depending on where Herziger and Zulav finish. And they'll have already matched their podium rate from the whole of last year. So they had 2 wins and 2 seconds in the whole of the 2025 season, which was good enough for the runner-ups one of the championship. So after being a bit grumpy after Red Bull Ring, it's all turned around very nicely for that pair in the last 2 weekends, hasn't it?
Can turn around very quick. Right, look at this. This is Robin Rogowski, still to do the long stop. Here he comes, out past the pits. Now, if we keep this shot here, you'll see the orange and black BMW about now. There he is, into turn 1. That is the Zimmermann car, and he will be taking a shorter pit stop by 20 seconds than those 3 cars in front of him. So visually, you can see how much of an advantage Tim Zimmermann will have when he hands over to Leighton Fury for the final stage of this race, if all goes well. Of course, that's a big if as we look at Sandro Holzem, yesterday's winner with all that extra success ballast on board in 9th place. Another one who's taken the long stop already, so we'll move up the field somewhat when the pit window is done and dusted, and that will be happening in 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Yeah, so Baudouin did 2 in the Aston Martin. Also has a short pit stop. He's in 5th. So the next to the long pit stop is Mark Kastelitz, who's only 18.3 seconds off the race lead now as well. So that car should also move ahead of the Audi. It's about whether the Audi can hang on for a podium. We got the very rapid Simon Conor Prumino. He's a quick driver to come back in for the 3rd and final stint. But it is looking increasingly likely that we're going to have, once that second pit stop phase is done, a BMW in the lead, which will be Leighton Fury when he gets back in for the number 11 car. And the number 14 Porsche, which will be Pavel Lefterov, getting into 2nd place. Just over a minute now before that final pit window opens. We've got 26 minutes of time remaining on the clock, plus 1 lap at the end of the race. And I've been really impressed with Tim Zimmermann's metronomic consistency. You look at his lap times, he's doing low 1 minute 22s, lap after lap after lap. They've all been within about 2.5, 3 tenths of a second of each other between the 122.1s and the 122.4s, and he's just been relentlessly chipping away at that gap, hasn't he, to get it down to now 4.7 seconds is all he's got behind the leader, and he's going to get 20 seconds on him on the pit stop.
It is the 74th race for Tim Zimmermann in the Adac GT Masters, so he is by far the most experienced driver in the field. But of course, we've seen him over the years in TCR Germany, Formula 4 Germany, Adac Formula Masters back in 2014. We've seen him in Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland as well, so a really experienced driver, and we've seen him in GT Masters for quite a few years as well. So Tim Zimmermann, he's already a 5 times winner in GT Masters, and looking to make it 6 along with Leighton Fury, but they've got to get through this next phase. The pit window is now open, so this is where the strategies that the teams have been working on are all going to start to pay out. So you can see, once again, to remind you, 2 blue markers alongside the name means a long stop completed. 1 yellow marker means short stop completed. That means those with the yellow markers are going to have to take the longest stop. The first one of them is Baudouin Detu. So in he comes. He will have to take a tyre change as well as refueling. So the team will get to work. They've got to make sure that the refueler is clear of the car before they can start on the tyres. Now here come the crew. You saw Bourdouin hurling the seat insert out of the way. Jamie Day, who is of a different build, will jump behind the wheel of that car and will bring it home for the last sector of the race. But that longer pit stop is going to feel quite painful when many around are going to be taking short stops.
Yeah, doing a good job here, though. The Aston Martin pairing, new pairing for the year, both in their first season of the Adac GT Masters Championship, first season in the championship for the Come To You Racing squad as well, who are into their second season of DTM, the Belgian squad run by Francois Verbist. The team started life and are still involved heavily in Fun Cup endurance racing, slightly slower cars, but incredibly entertaining as well. They're still involved in that, and they got their first DTM podium earlier today at the hands of a second place finish with Nicky Tim.
Right, well, Robin Rogowski into the pits, Felix Hessiger into the pits, Max Rice into the pits. These are all the drivers that did the short stop first, coming in nice and early, so they will now have to take the pain of the long stop. At the moment, Tim Zimmerman leads the way. He will have to come in for that short stop, as will Colin Berninghausen, currently in second place, as will Storm Yerdrum, currently in third, Sandra Holzem, Jean-Paul Southern, all short stoppers to come. That occupies your top five. At the moment, Finn Zulauf will take over the car from Felix Hersiger. They're having those tyre changes now. Of course, they're taking the long stop, but the advantage they've got is potentially a lot fresher rubber, so they may have more pace and more grit for the closing stages of this race. So just because a car has a big gap at the moment doesn't mean it's all done and dusted. The strategy coming into play here with tyres as well as pit length, and that was a very solid shutting of the door by Mark Kastelis. I think they looked maybe a little bit frustrated as Pavel Lefterov gets behind the wheel of the number 14 car. There was an issue there, or whether he was just eager to get out into the garage and cool down.
Just making sure it was shut, I think. Definitely shut. I'll just be keeping an eye on the battle on track as well with Sandro Olsen. Remember, he's carrying 20 kilograms of ballast on that car after the win in the BMW yesterday. He's been monstered by John-Paul Southern at the moment, the American in the Lamborghini, so having a great ding-dong on track. Look at this, though, nose to tail as they come out onto the track. Simon Conor Prim just ahead in the Audi, but he's being monstered here as well by the championship leader Finn Zulauf, who's all over him like a rash as they get themselves back up to speed, back into the cars for their second stint in the race. And right behind them, of course, is that number one Mustang on track, which is still Max Rice at the moment. A lap between them. It costs you more than a lap to get either the short or the long pit stop done here, because it is it's not a short lap in terms of distance, but it's a quick lap here. So 3.5 kilometres, just under, but it takes them about 1 minute and 21 seconds to get a lap in around here. So you do a pit stop, even if it's short, it costs you a lap on the track.
Zimmerman into the pits, handing over to Leighton Furry. At the moment, that's the number 77 car up at turn 8, the long-time race leader. So if all goes well, Furry should be out of the pits and back up to speed long before this pack arrives. They're currently up towards turn 10 and 11 at the moment. Then they'll be into turn 12, into the tri-oval, onto the pit straight. At the moment, Leighton Furry is already moving. He's already back out on track. So the strategy working well for the number 11 FK Performance Motorsport BMW. Here comes the long-time race leader, the number 77 car in the background, the Mustang. Pushing hard, working hard to try and find a route past the Lamborghini, finally making it stick. So that was great driving there from Emil Yerdrum, who takes the wheel of that car.
Good move. There's a couple of good moves in that Mustang, haven't we, today?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Different engine note to that Mustang, isn't it, as you hear from the pit wall camera there as it comes past, coming out of turn 5. Fantastic sound to that V8. So at the moment, Colin Berninghausen that leads on a track, but yet to make their second pit stop. Same two for the number 10 Storm Yerdrum car. Got a bit twitchy under braking there, that Lamborghini, didn't it? And yeah, again, sending it around the outside in that number 1 Mustang. You got to be pretty confident to do that, because it's further around the corner, it's longer distance to travel, you are closer to disaster because you're right on the edge of the grass and even onto the grass. And if there's any kind of contact, just physics mean that if you're on the outside, you're the one that's going to come off worst. There's no greater feeling, let me tell you, as a racing driver, than going around the outside of somebody. You properly feel bold and brave for doing that.
Right, bad news for Alan Valente or Joseph Ellerin, one or both for speeding in the pit lane. They're under investigation at the moment, so it's not a dead cert, but there may well be a penalty incoming. This battle continues to rage on. Simon Conner-Prim in the Audi, Emil Yerdrum just behind. The leading stopper at the moment, Leighton Furry over Pavel Lefterov. Now in comes Storm Yerdrum. Sandro Holzem also into the pit, so it's Colin Berninghausen who takes the lead of the race. Meanwhile, Alan Valente will get a penalty lap for speeding in the pit lane, which is an absolute tragedy for them in that 12th place. At the moment, just 2 cars yet to come in. Colin Berninghausen, Keanu Blum up to 2nd place. For Blum, though, he is going to have to take a long stop as well, so that is going to really sting. But at the moment, Colin Berninghausen has just under 3.5 minutes to decide when to come into the pits. We're looking currently at the battle for 7th place, but that could potentially be for 3rd place when all is done and dusted.
Storm Yerdrum has come into the pits as well to hand back over to Fabio Rauer, and as you can see, the Holzem twins are going to switch around as well, so Giuliano will get back in for Sandro to take that race-winning car back to the flag at the end of the race. It's just get what you can out of this, really. It's difficult to get another win, get another podium when you got that success ballast on board. As the nature of the championship, they're released. The Schubert BMW heads back down the pits. Out goes the Fabio Rauer FK Performance orange and blue BMW, and it was a good pit stop, 1 minute 20.3, so that's only 0.3 of a second over the minimum pit stop time. And the Holzems and Schubert were very good yesterday, and they're really good today, only 0.2 of a second over. So once again, excellent stuff from Schubert in the pits. But look at this, nose to tail and almost into the wall.
Berninghausen is into the pits as this fight rages on. Simon Conner-Prim versus Emil Yerdrum for 5th place at the moment, but it will be more than that. My heart always races when I see the race control messages, and this time it's bad news for car number 10, because Fabio Rauer has been speeding in the pits and is going to have to visit the penalty box. That'll add about 5 seconds onto his lap time. At the moment, Leo Pickler is taking over Colin Berninghausen. It hands the lead to Keanu Blum, who will hand back over to Nicholas Callas in the next 1 minute and 3/4. So that lead will be short-lived. This could potentially be for a podium position. At the moment, our leading stopper is Leighton Furry in 2nd overall.
I think this is the battle for the final podium once it all settles down, and Emil Yerdrum wants another one. Got the taste for it yesterday, so it's been too long between podiums, and I'd love to get onto the podium again. No reason why not. He's going to show his nose. Not quite close enough. Simon Conner-Prim doing a great job. The car's totally different. The short wheelbase Audi, a lot lower slung, a lot narrower that car, nimble through the corners. That big Mustang, a bit more of a, you have to be a bit smoother, the driving style on that, absolutely. And Emil has driven an Audi R8. He's driven a Lamborghini Huracan last year. So you have to be smoother with the Ford Mustang. It's not what you think, is it? You think a big brute Mustang, American muscle car, you got to throw that around, but you haven't. You've got to be smooth with it. You've got to feed the power in. And he said this morning, I was perhaps a little bit too gentle with it in qualifying, but you've also got to look after the tyres and think about the long game. The other Mustang has come into the pits, and that's going to have its tyre change now. And right at the end of that pit window, because we're into the final 30 seconds of the pit window now.
Yeah, Keanu Blum didn't want to give that up, did he? There's Nicholas Callas, seat insert in hand, getting ready to jump in behind the wheel. And with that long stop, they've got plenty of time to think about it and to get themselves strapped in. Unfortunately, they're going to come out of the pits quite a long way back. The lead is already in the hands of Leighton Furry in the BMW. Now all the hard work done and dusted. Pavel Lefterov, Leo Pickler will jump up to 2nd and 3rd. The two Razzoon More Than Racing Porsches feel like they've been fighting each other for the majority of the race. Emil Yerdrum fighting as well with Simon Conner-Prim. So with everything settling down, the pit window closed, make sure that door is closed properly. Keanu Blum will go back. His work is done and dusted for the day. There is our race leader, Leighton Furry. And I imagine when they do finally stop the clock, when they come round next time, it's going to be a fairly sizable gap between the two of them. I think it was about 13, 14 seconds last time they came over the line. So the gap between 1st and 2nd is likely to be fairly sizable. pleased to say it doesn't look like we're going to need the wet weather tyres today. There's some dark clouds around. We're predicting some fairly large monsoons later on today, but I think we should be able to get this race done and dusted in the dry. Famous last words.
Yeah, it's really muggy, really humid today, isn't it? And yeah, you get this warm air coming into the cockpit as well. No air conditioning for most of them. Although Leighton Fury said we have, well, at least on Friday, opted to put the air conditioning on. Takes a few brake horsepower away, 3 or 4 brake horsepower. But if you're cooler, you stay more focused. You don't get overheated as a driver. So the argument is, you know, lose a few horsepower, but don't make any mistakes as a driver because you stay a bit fresher. And either way, it's going to be hard work. These are big, heavy cars to wrestle around in humid, hot conditions. You only get warm air coming in through the vents. When you're behind another race car, that warm air is even hotter. So these drivers will be feeling it, especially, I think, those that did the middle stint, that really long middle stint. The BMW has gone through 13.7 seconds clear of the Porsche. So number 11, Leighton Fury, with a big lead over number 14, Pavel Lefterov. Then the second resumed Porsche, number 41, Leo Pickler, is only just behind his teammate, 1.1 seconds behind, 14.8 seconds away from the race lead. Then it's what is now the battle for fourth. Simon Conoprim in the Audi, Emil Yerdrum in the Mustang, and Finn Zulav, 6th place in the Lamborghini. This is going to be their worst result of the season. 6th place. They haven't been out of the top 4 yet.
Yeah, this is going to turn the championship on its head a little bit, isn't it? That is definitely advantage. Leighton Fury and Tim Zimmerman. The next round is going to be at the Nürburgring. That's in a few weeks' time, part of the Truck Grand Prix in July. And I don't know how that will favour, who that will favour. I think Lamborghini's normally quite strong around the Nürburgring, so it may all yet swing in the other direction again. But at the moment, we've got 12.5 minutes remaining of this, the 6th race of a 12-race season. We're at the halfway point of the season when the checkered flag falls in a little over 12.5 minutes time. It's the second of 4 endurance races this year. The rest of the races have been the 60-minute sprint races, providing entertainment all the way in the Adac GT Masters. Word on the street is at the Nürburgring we may well have a number of guest drivers. Let's have a look at the points here. I know Chris is working them out as I speak. Leighton Fury, Tim Zimmerman, according to this, will be 6 points clear of Felix Hirsig and Finn Zulav. You get the thumbs up. Everybody agrees. Pavel Lefterov, Mark Kastelitz, and by no means out of the running, neither the Holzem, so 31 and 36 respectively behind the race leaders, or the points leaders. Of course, we've still got to survive the next 11.5 minutes. We've got to make sure the tyres stay up, the car holds together. There are no problems or mistakes from the drivers. Every time they come out of turn 5, it's a cliffhanger as they get close to that concrete wall that doesn't move. There we go, that's out of turn 12. Also, just brushing up nice and close on the tri-oval. But at the moment, Leighton Fury looking pretty comfortable out in front. Then Pavel Lefterov. At the moment, we're seeing what the gap was. It was 13.2 seconds last time. So let's have a look, see what that gap is now as he comes out across the line. So 13.2 last time. There's a long old wait, 12.6. So Pavel Lefterov is closing in on the race leader. Then Simon Conoprim, Leo Pickler, and Emil Yerdrum hasn't given up on the idea of a podium here, has he?
No, absolutely flying. He's going to get the gap on the curbs, finds his nose in front, gets out of the Porsche, which he sent out wide, and loses another place because through comes Finn Zulav, back up into the top 5. You lose 1 place, you lose 2 because you can't get back on the racing line. But that's been coming for a while, hasn't it? Emil Yerdrum trying this, that, and the other. But now, for once, he's got to defend because he's got Finn Zulav behind him. They run 4th and 5th. You're on board the 5th place car. Finn Zulav is not only going to lose the overall championship lead as it stands, he's also about to potentially lose the lead of the road to DTM because Leighton Fury is on course for 25 points. Finn Zulav at the moment 11, and that would mean by 3 points, by my maths, Leighton Fury will move into the lead of the road to DTM. As you said, the winner of that at the end of the season gets the chance to get some funding towards a big step up into DTM, and we've already had a couple of notable South African stars in the DTM in the last few years, haven't we, with Sheldon and Kelvin van der Linde.
Emil Yerdrum senses another trophy here. He can see Simon Conoprim, the pole-sitting Audi, up ahead of him. What is the gap? So when they cross the line of Simon Conoprim in third place, 2.1 seconds. I'm going to keep one eye on that because Emil Yildirim has not given up on the idea of finishing on the podium in this race. 2.1 seconds. Meanwhile, Simon Conor-Prim is not a million miles back from Pavel Lefterov, 1.295 to be precise. So it feels like second, third and fourth could all be together in the closing stages of this race. At the moment, Leighton Fury is going to need some kind of problem to lose that big gap of 12.3 seconds. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing and holding it all together for the next 9 minutes or so to take another win. But everything up in the air behind. The blue and white Porsche has Pavel Lefterov at the wheel. The silver and red Audi with Simon Conor-Prim. Then there is Emil Yildirim in the background. I can see some very black clouds in the background as well.
Simon Conor-Prim, I don't think he's absolutely focused on Emil Yildirim catching him. I think he's focused on catching the Porsche ahead of him because he's flying at the moment in that Audi. We could have a real grandstand finish here because Lefterov in second place. His last lap was a 122.6, a 121.7 for Simon Conor-Prim. Best part of a second quicker, and you can see this battle for second. The Audi absolutely flying after the Porsche. Emil Yildirim was desperate to get free of the other Porsche, wasn't he? Now that he's done that, he's bringing the Lamborghini with him, and they're coming after them as well. It's going to be potentially a four-way squabble for second place. There'll be four of them battling for the final two spots on the podium here, with 8 minutes and a lap to go in this race. But by the end of this lap, I reckon, Brian, Simon Conor-Prim is going to be all over Pavel Lefterov.
Oh, this is exciting, isn't it? 7 minutes, 50 seconds plus the one lap. There you see second, third, fourth, fifth, all running together. Sixth in the background as well, in case any of them have any issues as well. Fighting for the final two steps on the podium. Leighton Fury nice and clear at the front, just under 12 seconds clear of this fight. But suddenly Pavel Lefterov is going to have a problem in the shape of a silver Audi. Is that rain in the distance going to hold off at the moment? Simon Conor-Prim looks to the inside of Pavel Lefterov, just showing himself at the moment. They're up towards turn 9 and 10. Is he going to make a challenge? He's going to try and get as close as possible into turn 11 and 12. If he can get a good exit out of turn 12, you can see how much tighter he's able to go round that corner. He'll take it out close to the wall, but now out along the pits they will come. Are we going to see a challenge for that position? Here they come out of 12, the two cars glued together. Past the pits they come in towards turn 1. Lefterov turns to the righter of. On the inside of him, Simon Conor-Prim just shows his nose. In the background, Emil Yildirim not close enough to get involved yet, but closing in. The gap now down by another second. So Yildirim has closed in by a second on this battle that you're witnessing here.
Yeah, Yildirim has just done that car's fastest lap of the race, a 121.680. So, and the previous lap, all three of them were quicker than Lefterov, who's having to go defensive now. And the longer this battle goes on, the better for Emil Yildirim and the better for Finn Zulauf. They're getting right into the picture now, aren't they, in the Mustang and the Hurricane respectively. Lefterov though is an experienced, a quick driver. You can see Emil Yildirim kicking up the dust in the background. He's throwing the kitchen sink at this, flashing the headlights, here I come. That's all the incentive that Simon Conor-Prim needs, because he knows that if he doesn't get the job done on Pavel Lefterov's Porsche pretty soon, then he's going to get sucked into this battle with the Mustang and the Lamborghini, which he was already battling with, remember, after the pit stops. He got away from them, and now he's trying to get away from the Porsche. As you say, nimble that Audi up the inside. He finds a gap, and they're going to be absolutely neck and neck as they come out of turn 12. The Porsche's still got his nose in front, but on the inside line here, as they come absolutely wing mirror to wing mirror, is Simon Conor-Prim in the Audi. They're going to be dead level as go with the start-finish line. Left-hander coming up. Watch for Yildirim as well in the Mustang. Down the inside he goes, and ahead into second place, but Yildirim is now right with them. The Audi ahead of the Porsche. The Mustang and the Lambo joined the fun as well.
Oh, Yildirim attempted a bit of a dive bomb there, but didn't quite have enough distance, or little enough distance, to the Porsche in front. But what a challenge from Emil Yildirim to try and get that place as well. So Simon Conor-Prim in the Audi, clear of the Porsche at the moment. So Pavel Lefterov in the last of the podium positions, but can Emil Yildirim or Finn Zulauf take the last of the trophies? Third place is what they're fighting for. It looks as though Simon Conor-Prim has that second place fairly well tied up at the moment. Just coming up to 4.5 minutes remaining. We look again here. It was an absolute drag race in towards turn one. Emil Yerdrum didn't know who to follow. Eventually, he went to the inside into turn one. Everybody braking late. Look at how quickly the Mustang was closing on the two cars in front of him.
Superb. This is a grandstand battle, isn't it? And how close did these two get over the start-finish line? The point at which I thought they were going to hit each other as they came out of turn 12. Yerdrum trying to pounce, knowing that they were concentrating on each other. He thought he might steal a position as well, and he came very close to doing it. He's been mighty, hasn't he, Emil, into that first corner. He's pulled off two great moves around the outside of people. He went for the inside line that time, but he wasn't quite close enough. But he's not going to settle for fourth place. He's going to have to be careful about this, though, because if he tries a move, Brian, he's going to have to pull it off. If he backs off that throttle, he'll lose a place himself to Finn Zulauf in the Lamborghini.
And we know how good Finn Zulauf is, of course, a former ADAC GT4 Germany champion. He knows how to get around this track. He knows how to maneuver through the traffic. Emil Yerdrum, once again, doesn't know whether to go left or right at this point. He goes to the inside of Pavel Lefterov. Lefterov having the momentum around the corner at this moment. Into turn 7 they come. Up ahead of them, second place, Simon Conoprim has broken clear. So this is your battle, third, fourth, fifth, for the last of the podium positions. When they get out onto that straight, Pavel Lefterov able to open up the gap, then under braking into the corners, Emil Yerdrum able to eat up that distance between the two cars. At the moment, advantage Lefterov, but he's got to hold on for another 3 minutes plus 1 lap at the front. Leighton Fury leads by 12.7 seconds over Simon Conoprim. It could be even more as they've just crossed the line now. Out of turn 12 comes the battle for third place. Out onto the pit straight they will con. Simon Conoprim now 11.8 seconds back from the leaders. Now Emil Yerdrum ducks to the inside, then back to the outside, tries to sell the dummy into turn 1, trying now to go the long way around the outside. The grunt of the Mustang, a wheel onto the dirt, but then the nose in front. Emil Yerdrum up into third place, but can he hold it? Yes, he can, but now Pavel Lefterov trying to come back, but Finn Zulauf rushing to join this battle. Out of turn 5, they will come out towards the wall. Emil Yerdrum's got the job done into a podium position for himself and Max Rice. Suddenly, Pavel Lefterov left with Finn Zulauf now filling his mirrors.
Absolutely brilliant move for Emil Yerdrum. Look at this. He dummies left. He cuts across to the right. Pavel Lefterov doesn't know where to defend, and then he's trying around the outside for the third time today. It doesn't quite work there, but he stays around the outside for the left-hander. And then, even then, Lefterov was fighting back because he knew if he backed off, he'd lose another place to the Lamborghini. It was great driving. They gave each other just enough room. How close, but I don't think any contact between them. And brilliant, bold move from Emil Yerdrum to get the job done. As I say, you're fourth. There's no way you're going to settle for not being on the podium when you're in that position. Has he now got time to catch back up to the Audis? The next question. The Leo Pickler Porsche, meanwhile, running out wide, and that I suspect has put the Aston Martin of Jamie Day up into the top 6. So Jamie Day and Bedwonder 2 on course for their best result of the season, their first top 6 finish of the year.
It certainly has, as Finn Zulauf again has a look on Pavel Lefterov. Lefterov is feeling decidedly bullied this afternoon in that Porsche. He's holding on to the 4th place at the moment. Was running in 3rd. Now Leighton Fury leads. Simon Conoprim in 2nd. Emil Yerdrum in 3rd. That's your 1, 2, 3 with less than a minute on the clock. Cannot afford a non-finish. He cannot afford to break the steering or put it in the wall or get it into the gravel trap. He needs the points to bring this home. 15, make that 10 seconds remaining of this race. I think that Fury's going to cross the line before the clock strikes 0. So 2 laps remaining of race 6 for the Adac GT Masters.
That's the last thing Pavel Lefterov wanted to hear, isn't it? 2 more laps of this. No thanks. He's going to have to work his socks off. He's driven really well, though, hasn't he? To defend as long as he could from the Mustang of Emil Yerdrum. But now he's got Finn Zulauf coming after him. Zulauf would like, if he possibly can, to keep his run of top 4 finishes going, because 5th at the moment would be, and it's not a bad result, but it would be his worst result and Felix Hersinger's worst result of the season so far. The main thing, though, is that it gives you another 2 championship points. It's 13 points for a 4th place. It's 11 points if you finish in 5th at the moment. As it stands, they are going to lose the championship lead. Tim Zimmerman and Leighton Fury will be 5 points ahead of them, but it would only be 3 points if you can get the job done on this Porsche.
So he knows that, and he's got a lot of work to do in very little time. You can see him just once again kicking up the dust. He's throwing everything he's got at Pavel Lefterov for that 4th place. Darts to the inside, then back to the outside. Lefterov, an extremely experienced pilot. He's driven prototypes, he's driven GT4, he's driving GT3, and he's using all that experience to hold off Finn Zulauf in that 5th place. One more lap coming up of this Lausitz Ring circuit. About 3.5 kilometres remaining. Can Pavel Lefterov hold on to that position from Finn Zulauf? The graphics showing Zulauf briefly in front there. Here comes Leighton Fury, Simon Connor Prim, then Emil Yerdrum, Pavel Lefterov. Zulauf was registered in front just briefly in that 4th place, but Lefterov was able to get back. Jamie Day in that 6th place. At the moment, up into turn 6 comes Leighton Fury and Tim Zimmerman. It's looking like they just need to bring it home now. Simon Connor Prim, along with Robin Rogowski in the 77 car in that 2nd place. Emil Yerdrum, Max Rice, done a great job through the pit sequence in 3rd. You're 1, 2, 3, but 4th place is far from decided. We look now down towards turn 8. Here comes Leighton Fury, the South African. Would have seen his fellow South African Keegan Masters on the top step of the podium in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Deutschland today. Are we going to hear the South African national anthem? Well, we won't, because it's a German team, but it will be a South African who could potentially stand on the top of the podium. That potential is becoming reality, because out of turn 12 now comes Leighton Fury, along with Tim Zimmerman, taking a win in the Adac Gt Masters 2026, their 2nd win of the season. Simon Connor Prim, Robin Rogowski. It'll be a first ever podium for Robin Rogowski in 2nd place. Then across the line, having worked hard from it, a 2nd podium of the weekend for Emil Yerdrum and Max Rice. And how did Pavel Lefterov, along with Mark Kastelitz, hold off the championship leaders Finn Zulauf and Felix Hersinger? They did that. So, relieving the number 63 car of those valuable points. And then in 6th place, Jamie Day, along with Bedouin Detu, getting valuable points as well in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done, Leighton Fury and Tim Zimmerman. 2nd win of the season, their 4th win as a pairing. And they've already, as I said, equalled the number of wins and seconds that they got in last year's run to 2nd place in the championship. And they are now going to be the championship leaders, 5 points clear of Felix Hersinger and Finn Zulauf, who finished in 5th place. Tremendous drive by both Zimmerman and Fury. Solid, solid weekend. 1st and a 2nd at Zandvoort, 1st and a 2nd at the Lausitz Ring. Just what they needed after a tough start to the year at the Red Bull Ring. Simon Connor Prim, though, was flying at the end of that race.